Work session to order. And first item on the agenda is the introduction of new employees. Do we have any new employees tonight? Shane?
Hello, gentlemen. We do have a new employee. We're excited to, Randy was a great administrative assistant, but she moved on. So now we had a great pool of candidates. Jocelyn Cannon was the candidate we selected. We're really happy to have her on staff. We're 3 or 4 days into it, so.
Wow.
She comes to us from the Boys and Girls Club with a wide range of background, along with running her own business on the side. So she'll be really good with working with our books and our finances. So I'm excited.
Great. From here, Jocelyn, or?
Actually born and raised in California, been in Minnesota since 2016, and then I've been in Bemidji for the last 2.5 years.
Okay, so is the Boys and Girls Club here that you were with prior to coming to the county?
Yes.
Great, welcome. Anybody have any questions for Jocelyn?
So you've been here long enough to get acclimated to the weather.
Oh, yeah. I was in Northern California, so I was like an hour and a half away from all the ski resorts. Snow's not a scary thing for
Yeah,
me.
that's good.
I'm used to driving through literal canyons of tunnel for snow, so. Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Thank you. Thanks, Shane. All right, next up is identify future work meeting topics. Anybody have any future work meeting topics they'd like to bring up? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the Bemidji Community Food Shelf presentation.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you very much for inviting us. I'm John Reff. I'm current president of the board. With me is Kathy Felix. She is our interim director. Not sure exactly what information you guys are looking for, so just throw out any questions if you have any. The food shelf has been around for 40-some years. These last few months have been stressful. We are very aware of the anxiety that's going on, not only in our community, but statewide and countrywide. We were aware of this months ago, so we have done our best to keep our inventory loaded. We spent a lot of our reserve money, put it in there, but this community is just outstanding when it comes to the amount of donations that we get. So everything is going very well. We've set a few records as far as people coming in. It's a bad record to set as far as I'm concerned. A real good record would be if nobody showed up. But unfortunately, that's not today's climate. Kathy's got some numbers for you guys, so she's going to go ahead.
Thank you for having us. Just to make a point, as John had mentioned, that in the first week of November, when everything was still in quite disruption, we did set records that were not, we want to see. But in 3 days, the first 3 days of the month, we saw 372 households, individual households come in. That is over 123 Monday, Wednesday, and 126 on Friday. We typically do not see 100 in a day. If we see 100 in a day, that's a really high day. We were breaking that regularly. We have, since the EBT cards have been filled, the numbers are starting to back up a little bit. We are still over what we would consider our average. We're at it or above it each day since then. But some of the big things to keep in mind are, we are still seeing, or already the second week of November, we started having emergency visits. What an emergency visit is someone who's already been there for the month, that they still need a little bit more. So they come a second time. And we're already seeing that number. We've been open, we had the second week of the month, we had 7 people come in for an emergency visit in 3 days. On Monday, we had 4 households. These are households. So that is a concern for us, that we're seeing them already come in needing some extra to get through. And just as things to keep in mind, why? People may say, well, why is it still happening? Because they've got their thing. There's still disruptions. Two big ones are what's called our CSFP. Those are our Commodity Supplemental Food Program. That is for 60 and older only. Back when the bill in July was passed, they cut some funding there. They're not accepting any new applications for that. So anyone who's turning 60 can't apply. Anyone who misses picking up a box for 2 times in the year, they are dropped and we cannot re-add them. So we have seniors who are losing money, are losing food opportunities already. In that same bill, SNAP changes were implemented to take effect 1st of November. This is totally different than the shutdown. So those things are happening. There's new requirements for people who are working that they need to submit and new calculations. There's a lot of anxiety still out there. There's a lot of what is going to happen to us. When you have food anxieties, that's not a good thing. They come to us. We're there for them. We are making sure our shelves are staying stocked. I have truly run over already the annual budgeted amount for food purchases. What lets me sleep at night after doing that in just such a short time is the donations, the community stepping up, giving us food, trusting us with their money. They're covering my back for what I've overspent and to help me get through the rest of this year. But we have to stay on this because of these changes that are happening. We can't let up. We need to take care of each other. We need to be in community. We need to support each other. And it's just, there's still unrest. What happens at the end of January? We only went through to January for this shutdown. What's going to happen at the end of January? We're staying prepared.
Questions? Commissioner Carlson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Kathy, you had mentioned that some people have been there more than once a month. Is there a sort of an unwritten rule that you can only come once a month?
Yeah, it's not even unwritten. What it is you can visit the food shelf once a calendar month. However, what we do have also is you can have, if you come starting in January, you have 2 emergency visits a year. So you can really visit our food shelf 14 times a year.
Okay.
And so we did open when the shutdown happened. We opened the month of November to add an additional emergency visit, which is still in effect. We are not going to pull that back. We made that, we are doing that. But we're already, people are taking advantage and needing, not advantage, because it's not an advantage. This is something that is part of our program, is part of our mission to serve. So they're already using them.
And is that a local rule, or are you part of a larger statewide, national-wide food?
It is ours. It is our, the way we run our local one, but we are under the umbrella of North Country Food Bank.
Okay. And then you have one other question. I know that you've indicated that you need more volunteers,
Yes.
and I know that you have some organizations that have thankfully stuffed a truck or stuff, this and that. Is it more important at this time to get some cash donations so that you can fill what the trucks aren't filling? Can you kind of explain how that works? Because obviously if you get a truck full of canned goods or box cereal, it's probably not filling the shelves the way you want them filled. Can you explain that?
Actually, it does. Think about a little child. I'm not going to be able to go out and buy that Apple Jacks. I'm not going to be able to go out and buy that fun cereal. Think about the face and the treat that is when we get it in Stuff a Truck. It's so much fun. It's so rewarding to see those things, those oddity things. But people have asked, what do you need? And so I've been putting out different things. What is it we most need? What would help us the most? So it's a mixture we would always welcome any donations of food, non-perishable food items. So it is, we fill up our shelves with it. It's never about, oh, this is, different. We don't have a space for it. Oh, yes, we have a space for it. Yes, so that is good. Obviously, the monetary is because we only take non-perishables as donations. So when I look at needing to buy milk and eggs and butter and frozen meats, that's something that I need to take care of because I have regulations I need to ensure the safety and quality of that for our customers. So that's where the money really comes in. Obviously, I buy a lot of non-perishables too, but that's really where that financial monetary donation is. Volunteers, we have just over 450 on our books, but it takes to be open 15 hours a week. It takes 110 volunteers to be open 50, because we do stuff, everything from people come in on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday evenings to restock our shelves so that when we're open, it looks like, we have stuff out there that people can get. We have those who work in our warehouse who are wonderful, that they make sure that when the fresh produce are coming in from our gleaners who are out picking up from local businesses, they're getting it out on the shelf for that day. We have those who help shop. People shop in the stores. We have interviewers, we have receptions. It takes a village to make the Bemidji Community Food Shelf work. And we have them, but we always need more.
Others? Mr. Gould?
Yeah, I have a few questions. Thanks for coming in and sharing the info, and appreciate the communications we've had recently on how to secure some donations, not just monetarily, but also food donations. I'm thinking of our hunters recently with venison being processed, and if anyone is interested in donating venison or other local meats like lamb, or if any local butchers have any beef they want to have processed or rep. Could you talk a little bit about that? I know there's one business that's approved through the USDA.
So actually what we're doing is because of, again, people are just coming out and saying, what can we do to help? We have this, we have that. Bemidji Downtown Meats is now certified to do donated venison. Please contact them directly or me, because they have to receive the deer in a certain manner for them to be able to process it accordingly. What happens is if it is during rifle season that he processes it, it gets shipped out because it has to go through some extra x-raying and testing things. And then it goes to North Country Food Bank, and everyone who's on the list to receive donated venison under North Country gets a portion of that. That is okay. In my mind, it doesn't have to be just us. There are other communities out there who need food just like our community needs to. Let's share it. If it is during archery season and you donate a deer during archery season, and you take it to Bemidji Downtown Meats, he can process it and give it to us directly. So that's the two different ways of us getting venison. Beef, lamb, pork, there is not a local butcher shop that, because they have to receive it a certain way for us to be able to get it, and transportation is also getting it to us correctly. But there are some out-of-town ones that I've heard about that I've given out the names. There's one in Bagley, and then there's one in Gonvick, and I can't recall their names. I apologize right now, but they process the animals as well. I would just need to get in contact with them if you're doing that, so that I can make sure that the transporting of that meat stays within the regulations. So again, I take it very seriously. I'm held accountable for the safety of my customers in consuming that. So I need to make sure it meets the standards in transporting as well. And I'm happy to do that if we can get it in-house.
So couple hurdles to jump through if you want to go that route, but
It's really not. I mean, I will make it as easy for the person as I possibly can if they want to do that. I will do the legwork if I need to, if I can get that in-house, because frozen meats they're expensive. They're limited. Lukens has stepped up to the plate to help me get chicken breasts in-house at a price that I can justify.
Mhm.
Help me get ground beef at a price I can justify buying large quantities. So yes, I will do the legwork if somebody comes forward and they have the meat.
just a couple other questions. You know, we're seeing the effects here of some policy decisions that are being made at the federal level that are hurting people. And it is wonderful to see the community come together and step up and provide donations, but it seems like we've been doing a lot of that lately.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if the federal government and the millionaires and billionaires out there that have the money would just step up and not have to throw this on the backs of middle-class folks that have been stepping up. Because I do think of that small child that is struggling, that is hungry. And, you know, a lot of moms and dads are working 2, 3 jobs, and don't have time to volunteer. It's really hard to find volunteers, as you know. So, you know, my question is, when do you think we're gonna see some stability? How do you think that's gonna happen?
I will be perfectly honest and perfectly blunt. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. All I know is there's always going to be a need in this world. And we need to do the best we can, given the times in which we can. They're gonna be on a roller coaster. But what we're trying to do at the Bemidji Community Food Shelf is be smart about the money that's coming in. And so when the times are where we don't have such big numbers and we're not trying to buy extra, having to pay a little bit more because we've got to go to other places to get it because our normal supply chains are running low, we are smart to continue to make some money during the difficult times so that we can continue to support each other in the times of need. That's what I can tell you we're doing. I would love to think that we're going to get back to more what's normal numbers and even below that, but I don't know when that would be. I don't know what it would take for that to happen. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yep. Commissioner Winger?
Yeah, I just have one, just from personal experience. You know, when I go to Lukens, they always ask, would you like to donate? And so, yeah, I always do. How does that work as far as you? Do they just keep a pool? Like even those bags that have X number of dollars on them don't have anything in them, but is that just cash then that you get from their product?
What we've decided to do with the Stuff-A-Truck, the cash that comes in, is leave it at Lukens. So we are actually buying from a local business who did all of the, you know, pretty much all the work to have this program for us. You know, they do almost, you know, they do a large portion of setting it up, taking care of it, delivering, you know, collecting the food, getting it to us, along with the radio station and stuff. But we leave the money there and we actually buy from them against that credit. So yes, all that money helps us immensely, but we're putting it back in the community business.
Lukens, Target,
Walmart,
Walmart,
Aldi's,
They're-
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
yeah.
We get
We got
from all of
those.
them.
they all are great partners with us. Lukens, the money that they collect during this Stuff-A-Truck, like Kathy said, they will keep as a credit towards us. But they sell whatever we need to us at their cost. And they will even bring it over to us. So they are by far one of the best partners we've ever had.
Yeah.
Can't say enough about Lukens, how well they treat us.
They've always been a great community supporter.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It all
Great.
started with Joe Lukens.
Yeah. So, all right. Well,
Well,
did
Mr.
you have
Chair.
something, Commissioner Summer? Yep.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I appreciate the information that you provided. A couple of things, maybe a question for Tom as well along the way. But what is your typical food bundle?
A typical food bundle?
Yeah, when people come in, what do they?
Ours is a little different. We are what's called a super shell. Then, we actually do not give out boxes unless they're the government, subsidy
Senior,
boxes. Ours is a shopping store. So people will come in and go through a process to get checked in. And then we take them through and they can pick out whatever they want.
Okay.
A typical, family of 2 or 3 will get 60 to 70 pounds of food out of one shopping center, one
Okay.
shopping time.
Okay.
You know, we did the boxes during COVID, and we used to do the boxes a long time ago. And there are a lot of food shelves around that still do that. I know Bagley does, Cass Lake still does too, and that's great. But the issues that we've seen is that the people will actually open the boxes that they get and say, well, I can't use certain items, so they give us back to us.
Okay.
Yeah, so they get to shop, they get to pick out whatever they want.
Okay.
And it's more than just the food. I mean, it's a meaningful, respectful way for the people to get treated.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Well, hopefully, myself and the board would be willing to come on and visit, see how the operational process works.
Love to have.
So I know food insecurity is a real issue and concern, for a lot of folks. And, this issue isn't unique to Beltrami County, but I think as Beltrami County is one of the poorest counties in the state, I think it's really something that we need to do to keep an eye on, the situation. And, I mentioned I heard you mention that you're already overspent for the year and you're wondering and worrying about what's going to happen come January. But maybe if I can get a little clarification from Tom or a member of the board. But I guess it was my understanding that with the SNAP benefits, they will go through the next 2026 and not be up for discussion again in end of January. Is that correct?
No, you are correct, and the SNAP benefits were part of the approval through September 26. The thing that I bring up and point out is back in July, when the bill was passed, there were changes to some of the SNAP processes and qualifications and requirements of some data submission that are going to have an impact on us.
Okay.
So that was already decided back in July. The other thing that concerns me is that, and I understand it's talk at this point, but we have to listen to the talk as well because it could impact us and we need to be ready. And that is this considering making everyone go through recertification to make sure that we are all correct and everything is above board. That's something we need to be aware of and stay very much informed on, is if they start doing that, what does that mean to us? Hopefully it won't happen. I am really hopefully that will never happen, but we can't turn a blind eye to the fact that they are talking like this. And we have to be prepared. So that's where the SNAP things are happening.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So there is still a huge need. And I think that's part of the reason why I asked for a presentation, from the food shelf, because I want to know what we can do, or if we can do. I know that there's little appetite to help financially, from the county. But I'm hoping that, hearing and understanding that there is a huge need, maybe there would be some reconsideration with any reserve funding that we may have. I know that local businesses are doing what they can do to help their local agencies. I understand that maybe the local tribes, might be helping out in some way. So where does that put, Beltrami County? I mean, I think it's important that we do what we can to help our residents. And whether that's through a contribution of some sort, I'm hoping that we can have that discussion because as you heard, there's still a huge need. maybe, if we can't help financially, maybe we can set up a donation box throughout the county. I know that the county and county staff, do different fundraisers and things throughout the year, so I would hope that, we can make an exception for that. I'm just trying to look for ways that we can help. I know at the District 2 meeting, at AMC District 2 meeting, there was talk about other counties, financially helping their local food shelves. So this kind of sparked my curiosity, wondering what we can do to help. And as I mentioned, I hope that there's some way that we can help. Thank you.
There's a
Thank you,
couple-
Commissioner Sumner.
There's a couple of things that are coming up that we've got our eye on, you guys. One of them is we have people parking in the street because there is just not enough parking spots for them. We're hoping to address our parking lot situation this next year. And maybe that's something that we could partner together with. I know you guys are gonna be paving some things right next door, so, maybe we can tie together somehow. The other thing that we're really expensive, non-food thing we're gonna be experiencing is our computers and our computer software. It's really outdated. It's not really working very well. We need to make that commitment to, and all those things, owning that building is really nice, but along with ownership comes responsibility to make sure everything's working where it should be. Those are non-food items that a lot of the community will say, I don't want my money going to a paving a parking lot. I want my money going to food. So food is our priority, but we still do have to have some stuff. So thank you, Tim.
Well, thank you, John and Kathy. We appreciate, we need to get moving on.
Yes,
We're
sir.
running behind here, so thank you. All right, next up, we've got growing the tax base, and we've got a threesome of the Greater Bemidji and HIDC and Chamber of Commerce here to present to us.
Can you help me out, Diane?
Who's up first, Dave?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get to be first.
All right.
We were actually talking back there, who's cutting back for time reasons, but I'll try and do that. But in any case, thanks for having us. Apologize, Commissioner Gould. You asked for this presentation quite a while ago. Took us a little while to get our schedules together. And thanks to Tom, by the way, for meeting with us and talking to us about what we needed. So we do want to talk to you a little bit. I mean, the conversation is what recommendations do we have collectively to you to help encourage growth in our tax base, which in light of the previous conversation is really critical, right? In any case, so we want to talk about that, but what we thought we'd do to make sure everybody's on the same page about what each of us does, we thought just real quick updates of what each organization does. A little bit on Greater Bemidji, you know us pretty well. Small organization, nonprofit. We do get county funds, thanks to you, all through the development fund, but also some city funds, but most of our funding comes from private companies. At this point, about 75% of our funding comes from outside the public arena. And we do serve the entire county and the rest of Greater Bemidji region. Our mission is really about driving development and promoting prosperity. So our central focus is simply tax base, right? Growing the tax base. That's what we're here for, is to encourage that development. So everything we do has got that in mind, right? That is our centering focus. And I shared with this and I'm not going to go through it, obviously, but I'll just a few highlights of things we do. If you see on the left, there's three traditional activities that's very much economic focus. We promote the region, right? We try and recruit companies. That's what traditional economic development did. We encourage entrepreneurs and startups. We have the launch pad, which has in our building, which has about 65 current members. And then we support growth and expansion of small businesses. So if you are a small business, we supported about 200 last year with some of the needs and issues and challenges they faced. We also help access state incentives. You helped with that, right? The West Fraser project that is going on right now in our county was because of your support. We're out doing a very similar thing will be announced this week for Airport Aviation. Who'll be expanding both in the industrial park and out at the airport. We do those things as part of really our effort to drive development here, very, very traditional economic development work. And then, of course, we do a few other things too. And I'll talk a little bit in a bit, but why we do them, but you know, we're pretty focused on that rail corridor right now. And what's happening there in the development, $65 million of development that'll occur there. And then also, we also work hard to attract talent, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So that's Greater Bemidji. Let's go, Dorothy.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Scott Turr. I'm the president of the chamber. I won't go into a lot of detail either. I think I was here a few months ago, but our mission at the chamber has always been to advocate for the business community. Really trying to remove as many barriers as possible to make our business community thrive. And so housing development and commercial development isn't necessarily on our radar, but over the last 5-10 years, the lack of development in our city, the lack of housing now is affecting every employer in town has employees that are trying to find housing in some way or another. With the lack of commercial development, you're also seeing everyone's taxes going up because there's not enough spreading around. The expenses of the county, the expenses of the city do not go down. And so if you're not creating new tax base, it's affecting everyone who's already here. And so we've really started getting involved in a lot of ways that we can get more development going, understanding why people are not building in our city. The comprehensive plan that you've been hearing about, all our ordinances and codes in our city, all of those things have to be looked at because there are some barriers that you can believe it's one thing or another, but the facts of what is happening in our community, we had 10 homes built in our city last year. You know how many homes we destroyed in our city last year? 10. So we had a net zero of new housing. That's concerning. We had 0 multifamily properties built in our entire county last year. That's concerning. And then I handed you a report that's interesting. We've got into trying to learn about what's happening right now. Like these reports from DEED, these reports from other entities. If you do a housing study, it's using 2023 info for most of it. That info right there is from last year. I can even get you info from last week on who's coming to our city, who's working in our city, where they're going. We have a net, there's 4,000 people that work in our city that don't live in our city, or excuse me, county. So those are, when you talk about building something and they will come, they're already here. We just can't find housing for them. So they're living somewhere else at the time. So those are the kind of things the chamber now is more hyper-focused on. We still want to do all the other advocacy things that we do, but this is a top priority now at the chamber for us. So thanks. I'll turn it over to Cal.
I gave you that packet. I'm going to go over a couple of things, and again, I'm going to let you digest the rest of it. First one is, first page on that packet is, we've entered into an agreement with Affinity for the next 3 years to do some specific targeted programs for allowing people to understand the difference between renting and home ownership, and how in many cases, it's just a little bit of difference in how they budget their finances so they can build equity instead of always using it as rent only and having nothing, shouldn't say nothing left because they obviously have a very nice place to stay, but they can't build equity. And so that makes it easier for them to find employment and other housing arrangements as they move through their life. Because most people, not everybody, but most people would like to have a home of their own that they can go to and feel like they have something. So that's one of the programs that we're investigating. Like I said, it's a 3-year pilot project, and we're looking to expand that from what we're doing now with them to other financial entities, hoping we can get their interest as well and expand it as fast as we can. Second page, obviously I gave you a kind of a narrative on, say, a $250,000 home with 10% down. We do at HRDC, we do some down payment assistance, so that we can help with that. However, we can't help with what they pay in interest. In order to generate, from what we've found, best way to generate more homes being built is to knock that down so they can make it as affordable or even more affordable than having a rental unit. That is the only way that we're gonna do that. When we do that and when we're successful doing that, because we will be successful, the tax base broadens, the burden on everybody goes down. It's a win-win for everybody, but it takes a little skin in the game too. We've got to find a way. And one of the things we're doing with Affinity is seeing if we can't do some of that, where we can take some of the interest off it for, say, the initial first 5 years. So they get a little equity built up and they can understand it better as they're going through the program that we're gonna be putting them through. That's the best way. I know this city in the past has been very specifically targeted on, we need permits, we need this, we need that, we need the time to do the on-site premise inspections. That's all well and good, but that's a 1 year, one-time revenue stream. And if you hinder that building, you hinder 40 or 50 years of tax money coming in. So we're trying to get everybody, and we want to ask you to be on board with that in some manner, that we get past that and do something different than what we've been doing. The fourth page back pretty much tells it all. And you can read that and give me a call. In fact, I'd like a call from each one of you on anything you could have that would be beneficial in making this happen faster. If you have a stable population, obviously, you're going to provide opportunities for businesses to expand or to start. You're going to have enhanced revenue base because of that, which in turn will ask for more employees, but we got to have the housing first. Thank you.
Yeah. Questions for the team here? Mr. Gould?
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate the importance of that down payment assistance program at HRDC. I know it is super helpful in getting folks into a first-time home buying situation, and it's super valuable. I've heard from a lot of folks. I've benefited from it personally, and have family as well. So yeah, love to see that continue to be funded and prioritized there. So thank you for that. Just a couple quick questions, kind of related to what you were saying a minute ago, Cal, about permit fees and permits. Would you say that, would you be supportive of the county waiving building permit fees, driveway entrance fees, something like that for the next year or two as kind of an incentive for people to build?
Yes, I would, but make it 5 years, because it takes 18 months to 2 years to get motivated, to get things operational. Sure, you can get one-offs, two-offs, but you need to get the word out, and the word seems to go real slow unless it's bad, and then everybody knows it tomorrow. So if you're gonna consider something like that, I would consider at least a 5-year window.
Okay, thank you. And then for anybody, what do you think would be good behind Target?
You or me, Scott?
Go ahead.
Well, I think you should take a little time thinking about it. So we have a few slides about tax base I want to talk about, but one of the recommendations, of course, we have is about, you doing inventory of county properties that might be good development sites, right? And I don't know if that's been done or in the process, but certainly that site is one of the ones that we would want to spend a little time thinking about. And Tom and I have had multiple conversations already. I've done a little digging to see what is possible. So we'd be happy to have that discussion. So are you okay if I just real quickly do this?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
shouldn't take long. I do want to frame it up just a little bit, because the question was about tax base and what do we need to do in tax base? And this is all three of us talking, not just me. Just real, why does this matter? Well, a lot of good things come from good development. right? A lot of good things from jobs to tax base, but I was just at a meeting at the hospital last week talking about health and somebody asked Carla Ishans, the CEO, what's the most important thing they could do right now? And she said, grow the economy. A 1% change in their payer mix is equivalent to $2 million in their budget, 1%. And so this has residual benefits, not just at Sanford, but you think about education and health and all that. So tax base matters, and you all know that based on what you've been going through the last 3-4 months, trying to make decisions based on a limited budget. We have to grow that tax base. And we really think it's a good conversation for you to have right now. And we're thankful that you're having it. When I think about tax base and we think about tax base, I think about when I visit with companies, what they talk about. Right? If you want to grow tax base, you meet the needs of what they're asking for. The two things I hear consistently is one, can we staff the business, right? Do you have the workforce, qualified, available workforce to staff business? Secondly, do you have good development sites? If you have both those, shovel ready is the buzzword. If you have both of those, I think you're going to grow your tax base. And here's what I mean by those. One, in terms of workforce, that of course brings in the challenge of housing that we just talked about. The challenge of work, daycare, quality of life, that type of thing is all based in that workforce piece, right? It's not just about education and training anymore. People can live anywhere. Why here? We need to make it a good place to live as we are. And then secondly, the shovel-ready site thing is really critical for you to think about. When I say shovel-ready site, what developers are talking about and businesses are talking about are sites that are good sites, right, for development. I mean, the Target property as an example, really good site for development, has the infrastructure, which is a challenge in our county and our city. And then thirdly, it has a supportive business climate, the things that Scott talked about, right? To make sure that all those things are in place to make development happen. Those are the things that I encourage us all, not just you guys, but all of us to focus on as we move forward. So here's some suggestions that we came up with and you guys jump into for your role and what the county could do to really start focusing on tax base as what I believe is the preeminent challenge facing us genuinely in the county right now, which is this. First off, I think, as I mentioned, find the properties that are good development sites, make them available. And we'll help you with that. I'm happy to help with the Target site for sure. Because I think we should be able to encourage development. That development pays taxes. Taxes eases the burden, as Scott and Cal talked about, on everybody across the board, right? And it creates the resources that we can use to serve needs like we heard earlier. We have infrastructure challenges, certainly in the city, but also outside the city. As an example, our industrial park needs a rail spur. That would be the number one most important thing from my perspective, our industrial park needs. That's not a city issue. That's all of our issue. We've got to find ways, for example, to help invest in things like a rail spur in our industrial park. Simplify the permitting process at all levels. What we went through with West Fraser at the state was really, quite frankly, ridiculous. We've got to solve that challenge, but it's hard to do at the state level. But we certainly should be able to control that at the local level and address that issue. I would encourage you that in all your decisions, whether it feels like it's economic development related or not, keep it top of mind. Because all your decisions have residual impacts, right? So if you have that as the primary focus, it should help as you think to the future. And then lastly, and this is a challenge to us, I don't think that we in the region or the county have a really coordinated approach to this yet. A real focused effort to say, listen, if this is our number one challenge, what are we collectively going to do to make a difference in that? I don't think that conversation started. I think it needs to start. And I encourage you guys to also help with that and challenge others to, including us, to expect that from us. So.
Yeah, I can't agree more with Dave. It takes all of us. It takes the community. You heard that from the food shelf. We know that. It's got to take everybody coming to the table and bringing ideas, and some of them may not be great, but out of that, something great will come. I've always believed that, and it's always happened. So that's one of the things that, as we move forward in this process, we need to remember.
No.
Okay. Questions for the group? No?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, you do?
Oh, I just wanted to say quickly, the housing summit that's coming up, on December 2nd, that's really exciting to see. So, would love to see a similar type of event take place, in the future, like, spring or summer at the earliest, just economic development in general and, bringing all the key stakeholders together. So like you said, we can brainstorm ideas, good, bad, ugly, and out of that will come something good, I'm convinced, so.
And we're both part of that housing study forum. We're kind of leading a couple forums. Well, I think it's going to be important is because we're also going to have developers there. And we always come up with these housing studies and all these different things. And we come up with our own ideas, what is great, but we don't talk to anyone who's actually going to build it. So the county doesn't want to be a builder. The city doesn't want to be a builder. So we have to figure out something that's a win-win for both. Things that we can get in our community and people that want to build it within their parameters too. So, yeah.
Thanks for that, Scott. And I want to make sure that everybody that's watching and that they feel free to reach out to all three of these guys. So, HRDC has a lot of other programs that they do and work with, gap financing. So if you can't get enough money just from the bank, there are loans the Headwaters Regional Finance Corporation has that can do gap financing. They don't compete with the banks because they have to be approved by a bank first. But if if there's a gap between what they need to be able to buy that house, that along with down payment assistance that you mentioned earlier, Commissioner Gould, there's just a lot of programs and a lot of things out there that HRDC, the Chamber, Greater Bemidji can assist with. And so I encourage people to reach out to them. Commissioner Sumner?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm going to kind of echo what Commissioner Gould said. I'm glad you mentioned an economic development sort of summit. I think would be a great opportunity for key stakeholders to come together. Because this sounds like a challenging undertaking that not one organization can take on itself, listening and hearing the need for housing and childcare. I mean, you're not going to attract a talented workforce if we don't have childcare or housing. I mean, it sounds like a multi-pronged issue that needs to be discussed, and I'm hoping that there is some sort of summit developed for the summer or sometime in the near future to gather all the stakeholders that because at the county here we hear from everybody. Childcare comes in, housing comes in, all these folks come in, but they come in separately. So it's kind of difficult for us to get them all together and try to collaborate. If they come in January or March or so I think that would be a great idea, and I'm hoping that you guys can figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sumner. Looks like it. So thank you, guys. Appreciate you coming in and presenting. All right, next up is a fishing overview. I think Jared is going to come up and no, Commissioner Winger, we are not going fishing, unfortunately.
Yes, not that kind, not that kind of fishing.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jared Lottie. I'm the Network Administrator here for Beltrami County. Today's topic in cybersecurity is phishing and the threats that come with that. 9 out of 10 of your cybersecurity threats start with a phishing attack, and today we'll get into that. If I could have Diane next slide here. Oh, I have the clicker. Thank you. I apologize.
Yeah.
So what is phishing? Phishing is a cyber attack where attackers impersonate legitimate entities, right? So they are pretending to be somebody else to get information from you. And what that really means is they need you to participate in order for them to get that information. And that's really what I really want to focus on. You probably get 1,000 emails a day, especially you guys, and we'll talk about the specifics of what you guys would see in regards to being a commissioner. These are targeted attacks, right? They know the challenges the county is facing. And I'll just go into a quick example. most people probably know we're getting a new jail. So you might see some malicious attack saying, hey, check out this new jail proposal I had. Just click this link, all right? Something like that. And so those are things that I kind of just want you guys to be thinking about. Hey, is this legitimate? Is this source legitimate? Just double check, hover over those links, and we'll continue to get into even further phishing tactics that they might use here. So there's email phishing, spear phishing, which would be the personal targeted ones. Smishing, I'm sure you guys get all those SMS texts, whatever they may be. There are tons of topics. Vishing, which would be the voice, somebody calling you pretending to be someone they're not. And then duplicate of legitimate messages. This is a big one that we're seeing a lot. You'll get them in a form of an attachment or something like that. For example, I've been seeing a lot of Netflix ones where they're actually taking the exact Netflix email you would get from a legitimate Netflix and just replace that link. And it's a legitimate email, or however, it looks legitimate, but it's not. It's going to take you somewhere else. They're going to get your information and further damage to come from that. The phishing tactics that I really want to cover is the urgency, right? They need action from you. So they're gonna create that sense of urgency that makes you act now. Your account will be locked in 24 hours, something along the lines of that. Oh, you've won $1,000. Click here to claim. Oh, Microsoft.com. That one might be urgent. I don't want to get locked out of my email. And then we're talking about those hyperlinks and those attachments. Something you want to double check just to validate that you're going to where they say you're going. And again, more red flags I just want to cover. Unfamiliar senders. A lot of times they're going to be bad grammar. Hover over those links. They're going to be requesting for sensitive information. You guys might have seen a lot of HR ones or payroll ones. Please update my banking information, things of that. Really, probably not too much new information here, but it is important. Like I said, 9 out of 10 cyber attacks start with a phishing attack. And so that's really what we want to do. And they are expensive, just so everyone's tracking, especially with the premiums you have to pay and all these cyber insurance agencies. It does get expensive. And so we are combating this, and I do want to just further get into that. On your screen, these are probably just a few, what am I trying to say? You've seen a few of these. So this one, click here to view your signature. Double check who's it from. Double check that hyperlink, who is sending it. A file has been shared with you, just click here. Like I kind of said, that here's your new jail proposal. Here's your new budget, things like that. They will target you. They know that what's specific to you. And so that's just something that you guys, I really just wanted that the commissioner, at the commissioner level, I just kind of wanted to preach to you guys on. And just here's one more, OneDrive. Click here to get access to your file. That's another example. Like I said, hover over links, and then further steps. We do have MFA here at the county, so for an additional layer of security. We are doing phishing training, so we are training our users to do these, to take these precautions and things of that. When failures do happen, we do remediation training. So they are getting constantly tested on a monthly basis. And this is something that we are continually getting better at. And so I do wanted to let everyone know that. And what to do if you suspect you've been phished, right? So initially I want you to just ignore it or report it. Delete it if you want. And if you do fall for it, you got to let us know. And additionally, you want to start changing your passwords, right? Where did it take me? Did it look like like your email login? Did it look like your bank login? Those are things you really want to look at, was this a legitimate, what site did it actually look like and things of that nature? Just be attentive to what you provided those bad actors. That is all I have for you, commissioners. Do you have any questions? I might have went
Carlson?
fast.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Jared, can you just, the little button that we have
Yes,
on
sir.
our emails, at least it is on my laptop, that you pointed out to me,
Yes, sir.
that if we see something suspicious, we just click on that. What happens then? Is it go to you? And then if it's actually legit, you just bounce it back? How does that work?
Yes, sir. So that is all an automated process. It goes, so once you click that fish alert button, I don't want to get into vendor specifics, but yes, you will send, it'll send that email through a automated system. And if it cannot identify if it's legitimate or not, it will notify us. And we will go in there, we will check your links out, we will check the attachments, validate their legitimacy, and then we can manually go through there and put a clean or a threat or a spam category on that email. If it is malicious, we do rip them out of, it will then go through everybody's inbox that received that email and rip them out as a precautionary measure so no one else is clicking that link. So it is important that we do report these emails because you're probably not the only one who got that email. And the faster you report it, the faster it gets ripped out and we don't have any potential compromises.
So I'm guessing that you'd rather have us err on the side of, doesn't look great. Maybe I'll just click that off to you or off to the phishing button. And you'd rather have that than have to repair damages from a hacker, right?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Please report it if you're in doubt. Absolutely.
Commissioner Sumner?
So you're telling me that the Craig Goswick Committee Board Member 431@gmail.com is not a real email?
Probably not, but
Okay.
yeah. most
Well, I'm
likely
glad
not,
I didn't
sir.
respond.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wouldn't.
Thank you, Commissioner Sumner. Yeah.
Can't trust that guy.
Did you hit the phishing button though? All right. Well, thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. And, I don't, do we use KnowBe4 at the county here or which monthly or weekly training program do you use?
We don't want to talk about vendor
Oh, we don't.
specifics
Okay.
just because that would gain insight to a outside threat,
Okay.
something like that. So
Wow.
if we can absolutely talk offline, sir.
Yep, no worries.
Yep.
Thanks.
Hey, thank you, everybody.
All right, that brings us up to the County Ag Inspector Grant. And it looks like Brent is coming up to present on that.
Good afternoon, commissioners. This afternoon, I'm asking for approve. You have in your consent agenda and agenda bill to authorize me to sign, DocuSign online, a grant agreement with the state of Minnesota. It's a new grant we applied for. Administrator Barry has always kind of challenged and tasked us with finding additional sources of revenue income. This is one that just came available this year as a result of last year's legislative session. We've complained for decades probably that the county ag inspector duties are statutorily required for counties, townships, everything, and it's another unfunded mandate. The legislature provided some funding and you had to apply for that funding in the form of a grant. We did submit an application and essentially what the Department of Agriculture did is they divided the total pot of money available by the number of people that submitted applications, and that's how it determined how much we're eligible to receive. And we've got a few duties that are assigned in there, but essentially it's a one-year grant to do essentially the things that we've been doing and potentially bring in up to $10,300 of revenue that we wouldn't have otherwise had. So that's just wanted to make sure we kind of explained that and yeah, if you had any questions or.
Sounds good. Anybody have any questions on it? Commissioner Sumner?
So this grant here covers the work of the noxious weed program?
Yeah, what we wrote in there is we don't have anybody staff in our office that are trained to be county ag inspectors or designated employees anymore. We need to send a couple people to training. So this grant will pay for that. And then also for our annual weed meeting we would do with the townships. And then some work that we would do with the township officers on helping to enforce noxious weed law. Yep.
So does the county still have the noxious weed committee? Or did we do away with that?
I'm not aware of that.
I know that there were,
No, you know what? There's an aquatic invasive species
oh, that was.
committee that was separate.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of a noxious weed committee.
Okay, yeah, because I remember in the past, former Commissioner Anderson and I would go to the noxious weed meetings and.
We used to have an annual weed meeting in
Yeah.
the spring where we invited all the township weed inspectors and we provided updated information. And we haven't done that for probably, I don't know, I'd say probably before COVID was the last one we did.
Okay.
thank you. Yeah, and so this is the other thing, is counties are encouraged to get back into doing that now. And so cover the cost of putting that on and staff time to coordinate that and put together, so.
Any other questions for Brent?
I think the noxious weed inspector falls on the commissioner with the largest geographic district in the county.
Well, it's my understanding that that it's more in the southern part of the county, so.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thanks, Brent.
Thankfully, we don't have to appoint anybody to serve on any committees for this. It's just I like
All
the
right.
banter though. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent. We'll move on to the judicial security legislation, and Charlene is coming up to give us the rundown on that.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Charlene Sturk, your county recorder. I'm going to talk to you about new legislation that was just passed this year, which is the judicial security legislation. We have 3 address protection programs in the state of Minnesota. The first one was Safe at Home, which was engaged in 2013. What happens with Safe at Home is the person actually has to move from where they originally lived and move into a completely new, different area, and all their information is completely shielded. The second one was Daniel's Law, which enacted in 2022, and this protected any federal judges. This came in effect because of Daniel Anderle. He was a son of a federal judge who was murdered in his home in New Jersey. And then in 2025, the Judicial Security Act enacted in the state of Minnesota. An overview of the bill is it's an address protection program specifically for the judiciary. They will submit what's called a real property notice to the county recorder's office. It lists all the information that they want masked. We're allowed to charge up to $75 to process these requests. And this goes live on January 1st. And who's covered is basically any judge in the state of Minnesota, either active or retired. In addition to that is a domestic partner, spouse, or an adult child that does not live with them. They can mask their information as well. The data that's covered is basically their legal description, their property address, their parcel number, any information that would identify where this person would live. It's retroactive and it's for online and digital real property records, and we cannot disclose any of this property once it's been requested to be masked. There are 4 forms that we're going to see. The first one is the judicial real property notice, which is created by the judiciary. We have not seen this form yet, as it hasn't been completely enacted by the judiciary yet as to what they want us to mask or how they want us to do this. We're going to mask this information until they either consent to terminate, there's a court order, they're no longer an owner of the property, or the individual dies and they record their death certificate with us, or they no longer qualify for coverage. The second form we're going to see is the consent to access, which is going to be done by the judicial official himself. He will give us a document that will request us to allow a certain person to access their property. An example would be as if he was going to the bank to get a mortgage. He wants them to be allowed to access the property. The second or the third one is access by request to release. This is done without the judicial officer's consent. This is basically done if, and I'm not sure how that's really going to act, because if he's deciding to sell the property, wouldn't you think he would consent? But the realtor or the title company can come to us and request that information. And there's a lot of information that they have to give us, their license number, how long they want to access this information, and so forth. And then the fourth one is the consent to terminate, which is signed by the judicial official or another individual, especially if the person has died and they are no longer in this program. So we're allowed to access fees for these notices. And so I'm requesting tonight you to pass your approval to allow us to set the fees at $75 for the initial real property notice and any subsequent real property notice, like if they want another mortgage masked or an easement masked or something, that they would pay an additional $25 to have that masked. If they want to do any consent to release the information to any title company or any other person that they want to, $75 for that, and then the consent to terminate. So basically, that's what I'm in tonight, is to ask you to approve these fees. And is there any questions?
So Char, is that, are we doing this automatically or or is it only upon their request?
Only upon their request.
Okay, so we may or may not have an influx of them.
We may or may not. My thought process on this is I've already heard rumors that there is additional legislation that will be coming to mask other people's information next year,
Oh, okay.
especially after what happened in May.
Yeah. Any other questions? Commissioner Winger?
Just have one. It says that it's retro on digital and all that. Does that mean like these hunting apps with Onyx that list people's property?
We don't have access to that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. The only thing that we can mask are documents in our office that are digital right now. And then we'll make sure that that's not available. So that's a good point. If they're out there right now, Google, I'm just not sure how they're planning on masking that information.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, it is only the judiciary right now, but I anticipate there will become more.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Shar. Appreciate it. And then we'll move on to the administrator's update.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We'll start off here with the jail project update, as we typically do, talk a little bit about where we're at on that project. The roof's been fully completed, which is great, just in time for winter. The membrane's been installed and all the rock is installed as well, so that's super great news. We're waterproof, at least from the ceiling down. Masonry and HVAC, overhead duct rough-ins are continuing. They'll go on for some time throughout the building. There has been caulking of the precast joints, the big wall, the exterior precast walls. That caulking has been completed, and the trench drains were also set in the sally port. Electricians are continuing their underground work throughout the entire facility in preparation for receiving the cells. And then the concrete crew has also prepped and poured the electrical room, the stairway room, and the stairs up to the roof, and completed the last two knockout panels in the slabs for cell access. And just a reminder that kind of an interesting and fun to watch sort of activity is going to occur here over the next several weeks, and that's going to be the installation of the cells as they double stack them and slide them through the open precast walls and then move them around on the interior of the facility and hook them up to plumbing and electrical and whatnot. That's going to be quite the process. There'll be another crane that comes onto the site to do that work, but it won't need to be near as big as the precast crane was because the cells just don't weigh that much. So but you know, it'll look like another crane there for at least several weeks as the cells get incorporated into the interior of the facility. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the jail bonding. We had intended, I think in the last update I gave to you, to talk about jail bonding this week and begin that process. We're just pushing that off a few weeks now. Jody and I have been working with the consultants on this and looking at our financial situation. One of the questions we're trying to evaluate right now is how much of the second bond issuance should we propose? As you might recall, the first issuance was $40 million. The project is an $80 million project, but we, through careful planning and management of the project, may have an opportunity to request less funds in the second bond issuance with some creative financing options that we're looking at right now. And so that's what we're kind of working through. It's possible we're sort of toying with the idea of maybe a $36 million secondary bond issuance, sort of saving that additional principal and of course the interest that comes on that. So we want a little bit more time to look at that and also tee up a couple of other evaluative activities that are important for making a good solid recommendation to you. So what that means is that essentially we're going to push things off, and in the December 2nd workshop is when we're really going to start talking about the spend down of the 2024 Series A bond, where we're at, what funding is left in that initial bond issuance, We'll also talk about future cost, where we're at on lost collections, that's the local option sales tax collections, and then what the preliminary 2026 A-Series bond might look like. Some of those details I just mentioned a little bit. We'd like to get your feedback at the December 2nd meeting. So we want to make sure that we have your direction and how to move forward. That'll be an important meeting. There's no decisions that need to be made, but there is direction that we'll need from you, because that direction will help us tee up how to put the financial plan together that will ultimately end up going to you for formal recommendation, and also direct the bond sale. So at the December 16th board meeting, we will present, based on your initial direction at the meeting on the 2nd, the pre-sale report and the recommendations for the 2026 Series A bonds, and ask for your approval on a resolution to essentially authorize staff and our consultant to proceed with the January 20th bond sale. So that's an important activity that'll happen in January 20th, and that is essentially receiving competitive bids and essentially presenting the winning proposal on January 20th. And with the winning proposal, there'll be a recommendation. So we'll get that information that morning. We'll turn it around quickly and have that as a placeholder on your board agenda for January 20th. Just like we did the last time we've done this, and then hopefully get your blessing and approval for that sale, and then pass that in the resolution, and then direct the parties to proceed to closing. At that point in time, we expect to be closing sometime in early February, maybe mid-February, and that is in plenty of time to keep the project rolling. We actually don't run out of money until probably the end of March or so, but we also want to build in a little bit of cushion in regard to the potential for delays or hiccups or anything else along the way. So this gives us about a 30-day sort of window to work within. So a lot of activity is going to be starting on the bond, second bond issuance here. We'll have a lot more information to share with you on that. It was mentioned earlier in the meeting today, but the Beltrami County Housing Roundtable, just want to put another plug in for that. I don't know if you're aware, but there are over 90 individuals registered for that roundtable. It's an all-day event. It's being essentially co-hosted by the Greater Minnesota Housing Fund and Northern Minnesota. The Northern Minnesota, Greater Minnesota, the Housing Fund, the Minnesota Housing Fund. Okay, it's too many words. And Sanford. And it will be also held on Tuesday, December 2nd, at the Sanford Event Center here in Bemidji. There'll be a lot of different speakers, a lot of different participants from a variety of different business and industry sectors. So it's really going to be super great. And as I mentioned, over 90 folks have signed up for this. And I know we have a board meeting that day. So if you can make it to most of it, that would be super awesome. But we'll have to cut it short a little bit because the event runs until 5 o'clock. And of course, we'll have a board meeting on the that starts probably at 3 o'clock or so. Lastly, I wanted to remind you of Thanksgiving that's coming up. So our offices will be closed on Thursday and Friday, November 27th and 28th, in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. So that's all I have for you, but I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Any questions for Tom? Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
How about, we've got the consent agenda. I think Commissioner Carlson had a couple of things to point out on that, or anything anybody wants to pull from the consent agenda for the regular meeting? Commissioner Carlson?
Well, Mr. Chair, we can hold that until the meeting, but I just will point out that there's one word change in the minutes that has to be corrected, but other than that, just to keep in mind that we'll have to amend that.
Right.
Just
want to remind, so we didn't forget to do that. And doesn't sound like anybody has any items that they need to pull from the consent agenda. So we will adjourn until 5 o'clock.